This video was made in collaboration with Narutopedia. For more information, check out the link in the description. The life of Kabuto Yakushi from Naruto. Kabuto Yakushi spent most of his life as a spy, working for many different individuals, organizations, and countries during his life. His natural talents in intelligence gathering and medicine attracted the attention of Orochimaru when he was younger, who made Kabuto his right-hand man. Although Kabuto learns much about the world under Orochimaru, he eventually decides that his life of serving others has prevented him from making an identity for himself. He thereafter seeks power and becomes a major factor in the Fourth Shinobi World War, using his higher place in the world so he can find where in it he belongs. After finally finding himself in the world, Kabuto returns to Konohagakure to run the orphanage there, helping others, such as himself, find their own way. Welcome to the Amagi. In today's video, we're going over the life of Kabuto Yakushi. Before we begin, we publish a new video every day, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. The Amagi's reach stretches beyond just this channel, so if you're a fan of us, please consider subscribing to our other channels and following us on all of our social media. Help us reach our goal of passing 100,000 followers on all of our accounts by the end of the year. And with that out of the way, let's get into the video. Background. Kabuto was found as a child by Nono Yakushi on the outskirts of a city recently destroyed in battle. He had suffered a head injury, leaving him with no memory of his name or past. Nono treated his wound and brought him to the Konoha orphanage. Urushi, another orphan, placed a helmet on his head so he wouldn't be injured again, prompting Nono to name him Kabuto. Kabuto liked the name and left his bed that night so he could thank her, unaware of the orphanage's strict schedule. When Nono found him, she discovered that this was in part because he couldn't read a clock due to his poor eyesight. She gave him her glasses so he could see, overwhelming Kabuto with thankfulness. To earn money for the orphanage's operations, Nono used her medical ninjutsu to treat injured shinobi of Konohagakure. Kabuto, having been taught medical ninjutsu by Nono, would assist. Although the money helped, they still relied on direct funding from Konoha in order to get by. Aware of this fact, Danzo Shimura visited the orphanage one day, threatening to withhold Konoha's funding if Nono didn't turn one of the orphans over to his root organization. Kabuto, after eavesdropping on this conversation, volunteered against Nono and Urushi's protests. Root trained Kabuto in espionage, and over the years sent him to gain intel by, at different times, posing as ninja of Kumo, Kiri, Suna, and Iwa. While in Iwa, Kabuto's spying was discovered and an Iwa nin cornered him. He was able to strike down his pursuer, but only afterwards discovered that it was Nono, who was also working for Root. Kabuto apologized profusely and tried to heal Nono, but she didn't recognize his face, even when he told her his name. She died from her injuries, and Kabuto was forced to flee before Nono's backup found him. Once safe, Kabuto was disillusioned by what had happened, wondering who he was if even Nono didn't know him. He was soon confronted by Orochimaru, an underling of Danzo who had taken an interest in Kabuto over the years. Orochimaru explained that Danzo had been giving Nono falsified photographs of Kabuto so she would no longer recognize him when they met. This in turn allowed Danzo to pit Nono and Kabuto against each other and thus eliminate Root's two most effective and consequently knowledgeable spies. Assuming that Orochimaru planned to finish him off, Kabuto attacked him, distraught by the loss of both Nono and the self-identification he'd acquired through her. Orochimaru survived the attack and suggested that Kabuto now try making a new identity for himself, using whatever knowledge of the world he could acquire. Orochimaru offered to help him in this regard and invited him to make a new village, Ōtsutsuki, where individuality could thrive. Kabuto agreed, and Orochimaru gave him a new backstory, that he was found by Nono, a captain of Konoha's medic corps, after the Battle of Kikyo Pass, and was adopted as her son. With this backstory, Kabuto was able to become a genin of Konoha, which he used to enter the biannual Chūnin Exams so he could gather information on his fellow participants for Orochimaru's use. When not spying, Kabuto helped Orochimaru with his experimentations and his studies of different Oto nin abilities. In the anime, Kabuto also helped Orochimaru find genetic samples for use in the Impure World reincarnation, and also helped him escape from Itachi Uchiha after the latter's failed attempt to capture Itachi. Chūnin Exams. Kabuto is teamed with Yorai Akado and Misumi Tsurugi so that they can enter the Chūnin Exams being held in Konoha. Before the exam's first stage begins, Kabuto befriends the Rookie 9. Because they're all quite confident in their prospects, he warns them about this exam's inherent difficulty, as well as the considerable competition that some of the other participants pose. He confesses that he has little information about the ninja of Oto, but doesn't feel this is an issue. This provokes the eavesdropping of Dosu Kanuda and Oto Genin to attack him. Although Kabuto dodges, Dosu's resonating echo speaker shatters his glasses and makes him nauseous. The exam proctors break up the fight. As the second stage of the exams near completion, Kabuto finds the members of Team 7 in the Forest of Death, arriving in time to stop Naruto Uzumaki from opening one of the scrolls they're supposed to be gathering. He explains that doing so results in unconsciousness and thus failure. When asked, he explains that he was separated from his team and that he's on his way to meet them with the 2 scrolls he's acquired. Sasuke Uchiha challenges him to a fight, needing one of the scrolls if Team 7 is to pass. Kabuto suggests that they instead try taking a scroll from one of the teams gathering in the center of the forest. He offers to help them in exchange for accompanying him, providing safety in numbers. As they approach the center and the deadline to finish nears, Kabuto and Team 7 are caught in a genjutsu by Team Oboro, who have similar plans of taking scrolls as they do. Team Oboro tries sneaking up on Naruto and attacking him, which Kabuto blocks, becoming injured instead. He exudes killing intent in response, creating an opening for Naruto to knock them out. Team 7 takes Team Oboro's scroll, and Kabuto accompanies them to the center of the forest where he reunites with his team. He thanks Team 7 for their help. Kabuto and his team meet with Orochimaru before the next stage of the exams start, and Kabuto gives him the intel he's gathered on Sasuke. They then assemble with the other qualifying teams and are informed that one-on-one preliminary matches will be held. Kabuto opts to withdraw. When asked by Naruto, he claims to be too tired from his encounters with Dosu and Team Oboro to fight. When asked by Yoroi, he claims that this will give Yoroi and Misumi a chance to earn Orochimaru's favor. In truth, Kabuto is concerned that he won't be able to hold himself back in combat and that he'll end up blowing his cover. Orochimaru's presence in the audience also means Kabuto no longer needs to gather intel for him. Kabuto leaves with the third Hokage's permission, eager for his next encounter with Naruto and Sasuke. Kabuto meets with Orochimaru after the preliminaries conclude. Although he doesn't want to trigger his long-term plans yet, Orochimaru is concerned about Sasuke's development, believing that Naruto is having too positive an influence on him. He sends Kabuto to capture Sasuke when it's still possible for Orochimaru to corrupt him. Kabuto locates Sasuke in the Konoha hospital and kills his 8 Anbu guards. He's discovered by Kakashi Hatake before he can accomplish his task and is forced to flee through the window. He meets with Baki of Tsunagakure later to discuss their village's planned invasion of Konoha. When they notice that their conversation is being listened to by Hayate Gecko, Kabuto offers to eliminate him, but Baki does so instead. A month later, during the final matches of the Chūnin Exams, Kabuto kills one of the Anbu guarding the stadium where the finals are being held. He disguises himself with the Anbu's clothes and mask so he can infiltrate the stadium and watch Naruto's match. During the fight, Hinata Hyuga starts having a coughing fit, still recovering from her preliminary match with Neji Hyuga prior a month ago. Kabuto offers to treat her and she is healed, but falls unconscious. Kabuto knocks out Kiba Inuzuka and Akamaru as well. Konoha Crush. The invasion of Konoha is supposed to be initiated by Suna's Gaara. When Gaara ends up being injured during his fight with Sasuke and thus left unable to fulfill his intended role, Kabuto initiates the invasion instead. He uses the Temple of Nirvana technique to put most of the people in the stadium to sleep. Some of Konoha's forces are able to fend off his genjutsu and engage other Otonin that have infiltrated the stadium. Kabuto, however, avoids fighting, and both he and Baki are eventually cornered by Kakashi and Might Guy. When he notices Orochimaru fleeing his own fight with the third Hokage, Kabuto decides to flee as well and advises that Baki do the same. Search for Tsunade. During the failed invasion, Orochimaru's arms are bound by the dead demon-consuming seal. Kabuto tries healing them, and when that doesn't work, he provides Orochimaru with medicine for the pain, but those are also ineffective. With few other options available, Orochimaru has Kabuto locate Tsunade, one of his fellow Sannin. Kabuto tracks her down to Tanzaku quarters and they go to meet with her. Upon finding her, Orochimaru offers to reincarnate her brother and lover in exchange for her healing his arms. This proposal provokes Tsunade's attendant, Shizune, into attacking Orochimaru with a prepared needle shot, which Kabuto blocks. When Tsunade displays a certain willingness to attack them herself, Orochimaru sheds some of his own blood, paralyzing her due to her hemophobia. He and Kabuto leave, giving Tsunade a week to decide. As they return to Tanzaku quarters a week later, Orochimaru is confident that Tsunade will heal his arms. However, he believes Shizune may represent an issue, so he sends Kabuto to kill her. Kabuto finds her in the company of Naruto and Jiraiya, another Sannin, forcing him to withdraw and return to Orochimaru. He arrives in time to stop Tsunade's apparent healing of Orochimaru's arms, having noticed her killing intent. Since she won't cooperate, Orochimaru decides that they must fight her and take her by force, though because of his arms, he relies on Kabuto to do the actual fighting. They draw her away from the city so that Shizune and the others can't help her. Because of how strong Tsunade's attacks are, Kabuto stays out of her reach as much as he can, only striking when he can get in a disabling blow. Tsunade heals all the damage he does to her, and Kabuto similarly recovers from her counterattacks. When they are found by Shizune, Jiraiya, and Naruto, Kabuto slits his wrists so that Tsunade is paralyzed with fear and unable to fight back. Naruto is confused by Kabuto's presence, slow to realize he's working for Orochimaru. Kabuto informs him that it's this sort of ignorance that prevents him from matching Sasuke. Naruto attacks with shadow clones, which Kabuto easily fends off. Kabuto tries to convince Naruto to give up, as otherwise he will be killed and thus left unable to achieve his dream of becoming Hokage. Naruto refuses, so Kabuto attacks with a kunai. Naruto catches the kunai and latches onto Kabuto's hand, preventing him from escaping while Naruto strikes with another Rasengan. Kabuto is propelled backwards and tries healing the damage with his Yin Healing Wound Destruction, but the damage is too extensive and he collapses. Naruto also collapses, Kabuto having severed his heart muscles when the Rasengan hit him. He boasts that nothing can be done to save Naruto, but Tsunade is able to successfully heal him. The fight is now left to Orochimaru, and Kabuto helps him summon Manda. Tsunade overcomes her hemophobia and defeats both Manda and Orochimaru, forcing him and Kabuto to retreat. Sasuke Recovery Mission. Since Tsunade won't help, the only way for Orochimaru to heal his arms is to transfer to a new body, which he selects Sasuke's for. He sends the Sound Four to recruit Sasuke, and Kabuto tends to him while he waits. The Sound Four end up taking too long, and Kabuto takes it upon himself to find a different body. He has several of their prisoners fight each other to death, with Orochimaru taking the body of the victor, Genyumaru. When Orochimaru does that, Kabuto talks to Kimimaro, reminding him that Orochimaru's current predicament is his fault since he became ill, thus making him unsuitable as Orochimaru's new body. This compels Kimimaro to go retrieve Sasuke as his last act of service, which Orochimaru characterizes as cruel of Kabuto when he learns of it. Sasuke does eventually arrive at the lair, though Kimimaro and the Sound Four have all died. When Sasuke acts disrespectful towards Orochimaru, Kabuto advises him on proper etiquette, to which Sasuke responds with killing intent. Kabuto is surprised by this, and Orochimaru is pleased. Tenchi Bridge Reconnaissance Mission. Over 2.5 years after Sasuke joins forces with Orochimaru, Kabuto is summoned to meet with Sasori at the Tenchi Bridge in Kusagakure. Pretending to be his loyal agent, Kabuto answers Sasori's questions about Sasuke, telling him that he's at Orochimaru's nearby base. Orochimaru confronts them during their meeting, and Kabuto retreats closer to Sasori. When Sasori talks to Orochimaru and prepares to fight him alongside Kabuto, Kabuto cuts through Sasori's puppet, Hiruko. Having never seen the real Sasori before, Kabuto initially believes the man inside Hiruko is him, but when Naruto and the rest of Team 7 join Yamato, he realizes his mistake. Orochimaru taunts Naruto about his desire to see Sasuke again, provoking him into using the Nine-Tails chakra. Kabuto attempts to attack him, but Naruto easily blasts him away with a mere roar. Once he recovers, Kabuto approaches Yamato and Sakura Haruno and asks if their presence here means that Sasori is dead, which they confirm. He watches Naruto's fight with Orochimaru. When Naruto, not in control of his actions, injures Sakura, Kabuto heals her wound as his thanks for their killing of Sasori and thus weakening Akatsuki. While Yamato restrains Naruto, Kabuto goes looking for Orochimaru and finds him with Team 7's other member, Sai. He initially assumes that Sai means to attack Orochimaru and therefore tackles him, but Orochimaru informs him that Sai is an ally and they take him back to their base. They notice that the rest of Team 7 is following them, apparently because of Sai, so Kabuto prepares a fake dead body that looks like Sai for them to leave behind and throw Team 7 off their trail. When they get back to their base, Kabuto finds a room for Sai to stay in and then leaves to analyze the intel that Sai has given them. He accidentally leaves the intel in Sai's room and goes back for it, but both Sai and the intel are gone. He tracks Sai down and finds that he's been captured by the rest of Team 7. Kabuto releases Sai from his confinements, defeats Naruto's shadow clones, and requests Sai's help in fighting Team 7, but Sai restrains him instead. When asked, Kabuto is forthcoming with information about where to find Sasuke, though he warns them against it since they may draw out Orochimaru. Yamato leaves behind a wood clone to guard Kabuto while they go searching. Orochimaru eventually finds and frees him, and they go to find Sasuke, arriving in time to stop him from killing Team 7. Kabuto recommends Sasuke spare them since they may further weaken Akatsuki, which he agrees with. Kabuto then departs with Orochimaru and Sasuke. Itachi Pursuit Mission. With Orochimaru's body on the verge of failure, Kabuto prepares the strongest medication he can to help him cope with the pain. As he's away getting the medicine ready, he notes that Orochimaru will need to take Sasuke's body within the next day or two, though he doubts Sasuke will be cooperative. When he returns, he finds Sasuke leaving Orochimaru's room, with Orochimaru's body now lying abandoned. Kabuto asks Sasuke who he is, unable to tell if the body transfer was successful or not. Sasuke uses Genjutsu Sharingan to show Kabuto how he overpowered Orochimaru's consciousness and absorbed it into his own. Kabuto is surprised by this, and Sasuke leaves without further comment. Kabuto later tracks down Naruto, who is in the company of Yamato and Hinata Hyuga. He confirms to Naruto the rumors that Sasuke has killed Orochimaru, and then gives him a book with all the intel that he and Orochimaru have gathered on Akatsuki over the years. When Naruto and the others can't understand why he would do this, he explains that it's a present for Naruto, partly to help Naruto in his own confrontations with Akatsuki, and partly out of gratitude. He tells them how lost he felt after Orochimaru's death, having identified himself in terms of Orochimaru for so long, in the same way that Naruto was once identified in terms of the Nine Tails. Naruto, however, was able to forge out on his own and establish himself as independent of the Nine Tails. Kabuto now intends to follow his example and establish himself as greater than Orochimaru. Kabuto shows them how he has grafted Orochimaru's remains into his body, which Hinata notices with the Byakugan are in the process of taking control of him. Kabuto claims that the remains themselves make him stronger, as does the constant struggle to keep them at bay. Naruto and the others try capturing him, but he retreats, vowing to fight Naruto once he's mastered Orochimaru's powers and also dealt with Sasuke. Kabuto further crafts himself over the following weeks and months. He uses his research of different human test subjects to modify his body. He finds Ryuchi Cave and learns Senjutsu from the White Snake Sage. Fourth Shinobi World War. Countdown. Once he's confident that he's mastered Orochimaru's powers, Kabuto travels to the mountain's graveyard to confront Tobi of Akatsuki, who has been using the name of Madara Uchiha in order to start the Fourth Shinobi World War. Tobi recognizes Kabuto as a former spy of Sasori, so tries to kill him for betraying Akatsuki. Kabuto responds by using Impure World Reincarnation to revive 5 deceased Akatsuki members, which he offers to use to help Tobi in the approaching war. Tobi asks what Kabuto would want in exchange for this alliance, to which Kabuto responds he wants Sasuke. When Tobi contemplates refusing, Kabuto summons the real Madara Uchiha, forcing Tobi to agree. He stipulates, however, that Kabuto can't have Sasuke until after the war is won, to which Kabuto agrees to. Tobi incorporates Kabuto and his reincarnated army into his war plans. When they later receive intel on the location of Naruto and Killer Bee, whose capture is the reason Tobi started the war, Kabuto offers to capture them himself if Tobi will show him the White Zetsu army. Tobi complies, also showing him the demonic statue of the Outer Path, and the biomass of Hashirama Senju that the Zetsus are cultivated from. Satisfied, Kabuto reincarnates Deidara, and together they fly to the island Turtle. As they approach, they draw the patrolling 3rd Tsuchikage away, creating an opening for a simultaneous attack on the island by Kabuto's Manda 2 and Deidara's explosive clay. Deidara drops Kabuto off on the island Turtle and then keeps the Tsuchikage busy so that Kabuto can find Naruto and Bee. He's quickly found by Naruto's guards, and his body is bound by Kurotsuchi. Believing Kabuto has been captured, Aoba Yamashiro approaches him with the intention of reading his mind to see what he knows about the Akatsuki. In short order, Kabuto sheds his skin to get free, captures Yamato, and takes refuge within Manda 2's nose. Manda 2 escapes, and Kabuto withdraws Deidara. Tobi is angry with Kabuto when he returns, since he wanted Naruto and Bee, not Yamato. Kabuto explains that studying Yamato's wood release will allow him to make the White Zetsu army stronger. He adds that Yamato has intel they can use, which finally convinces Tobi. Fourth Shinobi World War. Confrontation. Once all their preparations are completed, Kabuto and Tobi mobilize their respective armies against the allied shinobi forces. While Tobi is busy overseeing that, Kabuto locates Anko Mitarashi nearby, who he led to the mountain's graveyard with a trail of dead bodies. Kabuto captures her after a brief fight. Tobi discovers this and demands that Kabuto kill her. Kabuto refuses, explaining that he can use her Cursed Seal of Heaven to strengthen his use of the Impure World Reincarnation, which is in Tobi's interests. Tobi stipulates that he'll only allow this if Kabuto thoroughly demonstrates how the Impure World Reincarnation works, and to that end instructs him to reincarnate Torune Aburame using Fu Yamanaka as a sacrifice. Kabuto complies, and Tobi is satisfied. Kabuto afterwards takes the opportunity to request Tobi's help in reincarnating Shisui Uchiha and Jiraiya, which Tobi refuses. Kabuto relocates to a remote area to start monitoring his reincarnated forces. When several encounter the allied shinobi forces' 3rd Division, Kabuto drains the chakra from Anko's Cursed Seal to fully suppress his reincarnated forces' personalities, turning them into pure killing machines. He's very satisfied with the casualties that the 3rd Division suffers, so he sends all of his 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist to join the battle. When the 2nd Tsuchikage is discovered by the 4th Division, Kabuto sends the 2nd Mizukage, 3rd Raikage, and 4th Kazekage to reinforce him. Kabuto's forces have mixed results. Though the 3rd Division experiences heavy losses, they're able to figure out an effective, if slow, way of defeating the reincarnated forces. The 4th Division chooses to retreat from the reincarnated Kage. The 1st Division defeats or captures all of their reincarnated opponents, most notably Kabuto's Gold and Silver brothers. He sends Hanzo against Mifune of the 5th Division, expecting an easy victory, but Hanzo deliberately creates an opportunity for the 5th Division to capture him, and Kabuto doesn't suppress his personality in time to stop him. On the first night of the war, Toby takes the captured Gold and Silver brothers from the 1st Division, which Kabuto guesses to mean he's getting impatient with his plans. When he learns that Naruto and Killer Bee have left their confinements, Kabuto becomes determined to capture them so that he can use them as leverage against Toby. Kabuto sends Nagato and Itachi Uchiha against Naruto and Bee, expecting that their respective Rinnegan and Mangekyo Sharingan will overpower Naruto and Bee. Itachi, however, is able to remove Kabuto's control over him and teams up with Naruto and Bee against Nagato. Kabuto attempts to temporarily kill Naruto and Bee with Nagato while he tries to regain control of Itachi, but Nagato is defeated. With his forces dwindling, Kabuto decides he'll need to use his trump card. He sends Hayate Gecko to acquire DNA samples of dead members of the allied shinobi forces so he can reincarnate them, but this fails. He sends a force led by Torone Aburame to release the captured reincarnated ninja from their bindings, but this fails as well. Fourth Shinobi World War, Climax. Although the 2nd Tsuchikage was apparently defeated and captured, he split apart at the last moment without the 4th Division's notice. Kabuto takes control of the uncaptured half of the Tsuchikage and through him summons to the battlefield his trump card, Madara Uchiha. He uses the Tsuchikage to speak to Madara, introducing himself, explaining the modifications he's made to his body, his youth, his Rinnegan, and a graft of Hashirama Senju, and requesting the demonstration of Madara's powers. Madara complies, and after destroying much of the 4th Division, he asks Kabuto why Toby hasn't kept to their plans. Because Kabuto doesn't know what exactly their plans are and he can't give an answer, but he knows Madara requires the Nine Tails, and so directs him to Naruto. Madara then turns his attention to fighting the allied shinobi forces, and Kabuto relinquishes control over the Tsuchikage. Kabuto monitors Madara's fight until he's found in his cave by Itachi, using information received earlier from Nagato. Itachi states his intention to kill Kabuto in order to end the impure world reincarnation, so Kabuto informs him that the technique will not end with his death. Itachi is quickly joined by Sasuke, who initially mistakes Kabuto for Orochimaru. Kabuto, aware that Sasuke wants to confront Itachi about the Uchiha clan downfall, tries to convince Sasuke to join forces with them, but Sasuke refuses. Since Itachi's only option of stopping him is to use Genjutsu, Kabuto covers his eyes with his hood and sends his snakes to attack them. They destroy the snakes with their Susanoo and then attack Kabuto himself. Kabuto is able to slip free of their Susanoo using his research of Suigetsu Hozuki's hydrification technique. He then heals the little damage he did receive using his research of Karin's Uzumaki lineage. Because Sasuke was on a team with both of Suigetsu and Karin, he asks if Kabuto also has the abilities of its other member, Jugo. Kabuto confirms this, explaining how he used Jugo's passive ability to absorb natural energy in order to achieve Sage Mode, a state Orochimaru was never able to master, and thus proof that Kabuto has surpassed him. Kabuto uses his Sage Mode form to shield his eyes, and then blinds Itachi and Sasuke. Because Sasuke is unable to sustain his Susanoo, Kabuto tries to go after him, but Itachi blocks the attack. Sasuke and Itachi go on the offensive and coordinate attacks with their Susanoo. Kabuto avoids serious injury and he's able to take Sasuke's sword, which he uses to stab Itachi. Itachi in turn takes the sword back and uses it to cut the tip off of one of Kabuto's horns. Although their attack doesn't seem to have much effect, Sasuke and Itachi are nevertheless pleased by how well they work together. Kabuto once again tries convincing Sasuke to change sides, reminding him of all of Itachi's lies and manipulations and explaining how he, like Sasuke, also wants to destroy Konoha. Sasuke is too committed to Itachi to betray him, so Kabuto explores his own similarities to Itachi, how both of them sacrificed their identities for Konoha's greater good, and how neither was appreciated for it. This also fails, so Kabuto attacks, manipulating the cave's interior to crush them. Itachi uses his own body to protect Sasuke. Kabuto tries to get close to Itachi so that he can regain control over his body, but Sasuke keeps him away with Amaterasu until Itachi's body recovers. Itachi admits that he used to be like Kabuto, as he also struggled with who he was and tried to define himself by becoming perfect. He eventually discovered that this was the wrong tactic, and that the only way to understand himself was to accept his faults. Kabuto is unmoved, having thought long and hard about one's identity and now firmly committed to his current course. He uses his strange transmission, distant shadow technique in order to manifest aspects of the Sound 5 and even Orochimaru, using their broad range of abilities to overwhelm Itachi and Sasuke from a safe distance. They counter each of his attacks, and Itachi continues trying to reason with him, frustrating Kabuto enough that he moves closer in order to attack Itachi in person. Kabuto and Sasuke briefly exchange attacks while Itachi's body recovers. Kabuto avoids serious injury and is able to take Sasuke's sword, which he uses to stab Itachi. Itachi in turn takes the sword back and uses it to cut off the tip of the same horn as before. Kabuto notes the deja vu of this previous experience but thinks nothing of it and resumes the attack. However, the exchange keeps happening over and over, with his horn reappearing each time only to be cut off again. This is Itachi's Izanami, a genjutsu that traps its victims using a sensory loop rather than vision. Kabuto realizes that something has happened to him, but none of the jutsu he tries are able to change the outcome. While Kabuto is trapped in his own mind, Itachi uses a genjutsu to force him to release the impure world reincarnation, returning himself and everyone else to the Pure Land. Sasuke shortly afterwards revives Orochimaru using a sample of Kabuto's flesh. Orochimaru then absorbs his own chakra from Kabuto's body and they leave him behind. Birth of the Ten Tails Jinchūriki. By design, the only way to escape Izanami is to be humble and to stop trying to alter events in one's favor. Kabuto, by stopping trying to make himself into something new and perfect and instead accepting who he's always been deep down, satisfies this criteria and is released from Izanami. Kabuto is deeply glad to have rediscovered his long-abandoned identity and feels indebted to Itachi for showing it to him. In order to return the favor, Kabuto heads to the last remaining battlefield of the war and uses his medical skills to heal Sasuke's mortal wounds. Although Karin and Suigetsu are suspicious of Kabuto, Sasuke recovers and is able to rejoin the fight against Madara Uchiha. Kaguya Ōtsutsuki strikes. Madara is able to cast Infinite Tsukiyomi, trapping Kabuto and the rest of the world in a dream. Naruto and Sasuke are eventually able to release the Infinite Tsukiyomi, thus freeing the world and ending the war. New Era. Despite his crimes, Kabuto wasn't imprisoned following the war, and was instead allowed to operate with a degree of autonomy, eventually becoming the director of the Konoha orphanage. Orochimaru noted to Sasuke that the three of them were not truly free, and had most likely only been spared because the village considered them invaluable tools that could be called upon should another threat to the shinobi world arise. Sarada Uchiha Arc. Naruto, now Hokage, delivers Shin Uchiha's many clones to the orphanage. Kabuto decides that giving each clone their own name should be the top priority. Did you enjoy our video? Be sure to check out these other great videos from the Amagi, and make sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.